When it comes to meltdowns, it's more a self-regulation thing. It means the child is in a situation that they find extremely overwhelming, and as a result, there's an emotional reaction to that very intense situation for them. And this usually leads to behaviors that can look like a tantrum. So they might be crying, usually with real tears, so you see tears, shaking, like that, uncontrollably. Any other ideas? I think you're saying something. Spinning, yes. A lot of the children who are on the spectrum, when they are overstimulated, they spin. So a meltdown might involve a little spinning, or covering the ears, shaking, but essentially they seem like they've lost control over their body. Has anyone ever seen a meltdown? Yeah, what was it like? I'm person.
Here.
Oh, okay. What was it like?
Biting themselves, even though they're self-injury, they won't stop.
So they keep biting. You're trying to block, you're trying to redirect, but they just keep at it, almost uncontrollably, like they have to do it. Okay. Any other experiences with meltdowns? They're pulling their hair uncontrollably. And the main thing with meltdown is the child has lost that sense of control over their own behavior. The jumping around, right? If I would usually say one of the key signs for teachers, because I've done a lot of this, if your student is having a meltdown and they bring out their favorite thing in the world, they don't even notice it. That's how much control they've lost over their own body. They bring out their favorite thing, and I don't know if any of you have ever seen a crying meltdown where they're crying and they bring out their favorite things and it's like they just can't control their body. And the more you engage with a child who's having a meltdown by talking to them or trying to redirect them or tell them to do something different, is the more intense the meltdown gets. I usually say give them time to calm. They have to calm before they can be rational. Think of yourself. Anybody ever in a situation where you lose, let's say you lose your head? Yes. You get see red? Yeah? You get so upset you see red? Not yet, hopefully never. But if you're ever in a situation where you feel like you lost your sense of self, you get so upset that you just, this is what you intend to do and that's what you're going to do. When someone tries to speak to you, when you're in that state, you can't hear them, right? Because you're so engrossed in that moment. For kids having a meltdown, a genuine meltdown, there's nothing you can do right there and then to just get it to stop. You can support them, be close to them. If they're comfortable with touch, you can soothe them. To think of like a 2-year-old having a meltdown, not a tantrum, a meltdown, and they can't quite calm, we usually use co-regulation strategies. For those who have kids, how do you co-regulate your children? What do? You hold them, right? You rock them in your arms. You speak to them softly and calmly, very slow, very calm. But if you tell that child, stop crying, they can't. Right? It is just overwhelming at that moment. So you rock them, you soothe them, and you allow time for them to just calm.
Yes. May I say, there are some children that doesn't work.
Yeah, those are the things.
Firm voice. Because I have a child that behaves like that. He will destroy anything. And I'd allow him to vent. But if I don't get up and stand and make a firm voice, he will not stop. And then he act as if nothing happened. So it depends on the
Is he having a meltdown or is he just...
It's a meltdown because of what happened before. And
Can you tell us what
he
happened?
has this urge. He came in mother said he should have gone home because he came in at the time that baby should have gone home. And for that, he had a terrible meltdown. And I allowed him, his mother couldn't talk to him and stuff. But it was frustrating to me, so I just stepped in, spoke a little strong. He went and sat down and he never had that again. You know? So and I was talking to the mother that you have to, this particular child, you have to be firm with him because softness doesn't help. And I saw he's working with a therapist, and the therapist said she had to be firm with him because I think he reads your emotion.
Anytime you notice that, that's not a meltdown. That's a tantrum. What he's learned is if I do all these behaviors, these combination of behaviors, people will allow me to avoid or escape things. When a child is having a genuine meltdown, it doesn't matter how long you shout at them. It's the kid who, when they're having a genuine meltdown, and the teacher gets really firm and says, stop it now. This is what they do. okay, I'm trying, but right? They can't control it. So if you notice that when you get firm, they stop, that's a tantrum.
Okay, so the difference between a meltdown and a tantrum.
They lost control of their body. Usually, and that doesn't mean that, yes, you're in that moment helping them to cope, but you're going to teach coping skills. You're going to teach them alternative ways to cope with whatever that emotional trigger was for them. But this is a natural part of development again. So if you think of the 2-year-old, the baby, all the way up to about 3, 4, they need their parents or their caregiver to help them to co-regulate and teach them how to regulate their body. That's all children, right? For those who have a special need like autism, that doesn't happen as naturally as it does with other kids. So you might see that tendency to have difficulty regulating emotions beyond age 4 all the way through, even into adulthood for those on the spectrum. Being able to differentiate between those two is key because then it helps you know how to intervene. Yeah, and you find out a lot with kids on the spectrum, right? They go to the doctor or the dentist and they're overstimulated by the machines and the lights and everything. They're having a genuine meltdown in that moment. What do you do? Usually we work on for coping and self-regulation. We teach those skills outside of the actual setting first, usually. Just to help them develop tolerance for whatever the trigger was. So if it's the equipment, we might in our sessions bring in some equipment and actually practice using them with the child. Not for any actual reason, right? Just to practice reasoning, you're not going to do an evaluation, a real evaluation. You're practicing it, right? For lighting, you may have to help to desensitize them to bright lights as a proactive strategy. No, there are also doctors and dentists, someone mentioned to me that they were looking at making a list for parents of, autism-friendly doctors, autism-friendly dentists, and so on, who they'll dim their lights, they'll use machines that aren't as noisy, they'll give the child space, they understand the condition and they accommodate for the condition. That's even better. But in the real world environment, not everyone will be accommodating. So we also want to try and teach them coping skills under those conditions. Great point. But the main thing here though is knowing when it's self-regulation and when it's just behavior. Yeah? And once you know it's self-regulation, you're looking at, okay, how can I teach my students how to regulate those emotions? What are some things they can do? Has anyone ever gone through teaching on how to regulate your emotions, yourself or your children? What are some strategies you learned? No strategies? Counting. Count to 10 or count to 20. Or just count until here. Yes, walk it off, right? Anything else? Praying, yes. Anything else? Exercise, definitely. Go and run a lap and come back. Walk it off. Anything else? Sweet. You guys have it, right? So you create a bank of coping strategies for your students. Sometimes if you know your student is in a very intense situation, because you know it's self-regulation and not just behavior, it's okay to take them out of it. If you know they don't have the coping skill yet, you allow them to escape it because you know it's a self-reg thing and not just an escape thing. Time for the next break, right? Or lunch. Which one? Lunch. Oh, 3 minutes. Alright? Yes, the morning has just run away. Any questions about self-regulation and coping? The difference between that and just behavior being behavioral. Why do we teach alternative behaviors? Mainly because there are still deficits. If you see challenging behavior, it's more likely there's a deficit. If you taught the skill to mastery already, and you're confident that this child knows how to use their alternative behavior, but they choose not to, that's when you might now look at punishment strategies for a deliberate choice to not use your alternative. But first, you must teach them what to do instead. It's unfair to a child to punish them when they don't know the skill, they don't have the skill yet. That's our job as instructors. We teach them, and then we encourage parents to also use them. Good? Yeah?